Hi, and thank you for tuning in today. This is Nicole Marie Campbell, and I am from designingartist.com, and this is my show, Dripping with Meaning on Spirituality Gone Wild. I hope everyone out there today viewing gets a chance to click over to StreamYard in order to get into our comments. That's just allowing StreamYard to be useful in your Facebook setup. And that way you can discuss with us today. Because today we have a wonderful guest. Her name is Cara, and she is the author of Unleash Your Light. Lee had this divine inspiration and brought forward, after 2 days of writing collectively, I think it's 9 to 10 different principles that she has heard from spirit and her guides that can benefit us now on earth through the interchanging and spiritual growth that the new earth is now facing. So if you just all want to give a warm welcome over, here's Lee. Good morning. Good
Good morning.
morning.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited.
Yes, I love your enthusiasm. It's really helping. It's wonderful. Yeah, so I think in a lot of our discussions, we've talked about the nature of your book and how that was correlated to you in a downtime and experience of yourself. I'm not too sure exactly those details, but if you want to let us know more about how you got your guides in on this and what they told you to start off with. And today we'll be focusing on chapter 1 as our topic, which will be You Are Not Alone.
Yes. So I lived my whole life. I'm 51 now. I lived my entire life pretty much hating myself, thinking I was repulsive, thinking that everyone could see what was wrong with me. I felt like I wore the word damaged, unwanted, like splashing across my forehead, and everybody in the room knew what was wrong with me. And and so I just walked through life that way. And yet, what do? When we feel that way? We put on our mask, we
Mhm.
raise our kids, we take care of our family, we go to work, we do all the things that we're supposed to do that we've been conditioned to do by society. And yet on the inside, we feel worthless, useless, hopeless. We hate ourselves. We're miserable. We judge
Mm,
ourselves. We think we're unworthy. We sabotage
yeah.
ourselves. Like there's a whole list of things that we
You
do
kinda
based
like those
on.
are the days where you're just putting on the makeup in order to fake it till you make it, as I would.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I wear a little bit of makeup now, but I used to wear a very big face of it because I felt more comfortable with a lot of covering on my face,
Hiding your truth, hiding the beauty of what
Absolutely.
we are. I think
Absolutely.
because beauty is definitely from the inside out. I've learned that is a definite inside out journey.
Yeah, 100. So I was just at this point where my life was repetitive and miserable on the inside and repetitive and looked happy on the outside. And I knew that that wasn't my reality. And I asked the universe for help. I was a non religious, argue with the Jehovah Witnesses, debate any person who wants to talk about is there a God, is there not a God, is there religion, is there not religion, because I was fascinated with the topic but skeptical about the answer. And so one day I got this like lightning bolt, like golden light filled my entire body.
Mhm.
And in an instant, I was shown a series of images. I was shown this beautiful light body. Now, mind you, I didn't know anything about spirituality. I knew very little about religion. I didn't even know that there was like a subset of spiritual whatever. Like I had no idea. And then they said to me, all of a sudden now I have you are Lee Cara, this is Unleash Your Light. You are going to write, pick up a pen, start writing. I got this overwhelming energy of love like I had never felt, like I had never
Mhm.
felt from a friend, lover, family member. And my entire body just felt like I have never felt that. Now I can access it anytime, but at the time it was so shocking to me because I lived in such a void of emotion. I had shut myself down and numbed myself to
Mhm.
everything but pain, pretty much.
Right. And so the for you, obviously we all know in our human experiences, we're here to endeavor into darkness and definitely figure out, especially on planet Earth right now, for me, what is going on in my neighborhood and communities with people, their energy. Really cool and upcoming things from my network is people that are actually um, personally mandating their healing qualities to the earth. So they're actually sacrificing everything and having goals of how many thousands of people that they can meet in a month in order to heal and bring as many people into alignment with themselves and the power of themselves. And when I hear things like that and I hear stories like yours, it just really aligns with me why the power of your personal truth is more important now than any relationship, any dichotomy. I think any family arrangement. I think the person that you are and we are, and that light that needs to shine from within is more important than ever.
Yeah, 100%. It literally is coming. What I learned on my journey is that it literally comes from within us. Anything we see out in the world that bothers us, anything that triggers us, can be
Mhm.
healed from within us, not
Mhm.
healed by changing what's out there. It's healed by changing what's in here.
Oh
It's
yeah,
shifted
like
by
yeah, get
changing
right
what's
off
in here.
that shelf. I think the more of us that change from being allured by cigarettes, marijuana, alcohol, salacious sex, things like that, things that are like socially normed in our society for so long, guns, weapons, this type of thing, the sooner that people get off of those negative personas that are leading people basically to jail cells, to have spiritual visions again, because a lot of people get them when they're in there too.
That's
But
true.
they need to just put down the weapons now, is what I'm
Yeah.
feeling.
But again, in my in my in my recognition of it, in my understanding of it, it's not the thing, it's not the cigarette, it's not the gun, it's the emotion, the unhealed space inside of us that we are using to fill with that external thing. Right? So if
Mhm.
I'm constantly smoking cigarettes or smoking weed or drinking, if I'm, going out and threatening to shoot people, which here in the States happens quite a bit, happens more than you would think it would,
Mhm.
that comes from a space in me that I'm trying to medicate or I'm trying to
Ah.
solve
So
by
would you
holding on to
say
that.
yeah, so would you say that maybe this collective behavior that we're sharing in, those soda pops that we're so used to grabbing, those cigarettes that calm you for a second from what, right? Why
Yeah.
aren't we just going directly to Mother Gaia? Why are we derailed at the gas station when we can be driving electric cars? Like, I don't see my reality as forfeiting over my rights and my body's rights and freedoms to wanting to get up with those corporate entities and say, yeah, I'm going to put my money towards what you're doing because it's actually distracting my DNA and the process of the light processing through my DNA. So I know that because that's the level that I work to get to. And I obviously now, 8 weeks into these shows, have felt more in an elevation than ever. But it's just knowing that, like, like for me, when I heard your story, wow, like this person literally had just sunk right into and I know you've had it within you for a long time though, because you did, with your decks and everything back
Mm-hmm.
with how you do your oracle, whether you do your ruins and then you do your
Yeah.
deck. You always had the mystery and the magic within you. It was a lifestyle that you kind of like thought was really cool and neat
Yeah,
and you
I
wanted
shut
to
it down.
you
I
shut it
shut it
down.
down.
Yeah.
I predicted I started reading runes in 1993, and I predicted my friend's pregnancy by reading both her runes and her man's runes separately, thinking that
Wow.
they were going to tell them to break up. And instead, I said, well, you're either breaking up or she's pregnant, like right now. And literally a week
Wow.
later, she was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. So I was at that point, I was like, I am too scared to keep doing this. And I shut it down. I've always been able to sense spirits and energy, but I didn't think that was unnormal. Like I just thought everybody did that. I didn't think that that was something different. And I never really focused on it. Again, it's scary. All of this
Yeah.
can be very scary, especially, okay, so I had my little awakening and now I have a voice in my head. And I struggled with, is
Mm.
this mental illness? Am I finally giving in to like these years of like holding back the deluge of voices?
Yeah, because I feel the same way. Oh my goodness, Lee. Like I have had a mental health diagnosis that went along with an accident, and then now working with my team, realizing it's like fractals of what just basically never truly got healed because they medicate you out of surgery so heavily. And the more that the healers in our group are working with us, they're showing that all of these different medications and such can leave entity as well within the body. Like they actually have like incredible findings. And I mean, a lot of these healers here in Toronto, Canada, they have 20 and 30 years experience, and they are doctorants, right? So
Mhm.
um definitely I see that there's this huge thing of like getting into yourself, of honoring yourself, of seeing yourself in the light and noticing where the shadow is coming up. And we do a lot of that great talk because you've been helping me with that. You've actually helped me find a lot of my security within my communication, honoring my truth, speaking from my truth, and honoring the fact that the light is where I want to be at all times. So,
Yeah. And it's
yeah.
often the interesting thing that I always find about our personal truth, and I am still digging down through this, is that it's so layered that what we think is our truth is often layers and layers and layers of conditioning from the life that we led. So
Yeah.
if you were trained, if you as a child thought that every time that I drop something, I'm going to get smacked in the head, for
Yeah.
the rest of your life, when you drop something, you'll probably
Have
do
that
that.
reaction. Yeah.
And you have to peel all of these layers away to from the conditioning, from the things. I just did a show on this on Tuesday. Those things that we carry from childhood that we think everyone does. Well,
Yeah.
everybody knows that there used to be a character on Real Housewives of Atlanta that every time she would say something, she goes, "Well, everybody knows that you can't just pick up a cat by its scruff." Like she would always have these sayings that she would say before, well, everybody knows, but not everybody knows that. But we go through life assuming that everyone around us has the same perspective and level of understanding with the world or sees the world the same way we do. But everybody sees the world in a completely different way. Everybody looks at this and sees something different, even
Mhm.
though this is a quantifiable fact that this is a thing of paint. But everyone will see it and interpret it a little bit differently. And that's the fascinating thing about this world, is that it really is about what you are focusing on within yourself and the
Mhm.
things out there that you're focusing on and how you see them for
Yeah,
yourself,
rising in that, like rising on what you're focusing on about it, and then realizing if you're getting interrupted emotionally, it's something you haven't worked out yet within your
Yeah,
timeline. So it's an old childhood wound. It's a relationship that's standing in the way of a true love relationship because it's playing a role, but it doesn't really want to be there. It could be like I was saying last night, it's a boss that, only really has so much to give to you where you're at, and you need something that's going to push you a little bit harder or show you, where your talents come up. But I wanted to mention too with that in the healing journey, allostasis is categorized in mindfulness as the state where in and within a group that you feel safety. So your basic vortex reptilian reactions due to stress, anxiety, and childhood abuse are no longer as predominant because you feel safe within a group.
mm,
And I think for anybody right now coming out of COVID, if you had stuff come up, or if you aren't in a safe and happy surrounding, or haven't found that for yourself where you're at, a beautiful sense of, your surroundings and reality, then safety probably is something that you compromised. And that's a huge lesson in and of itself.
100%.
I think your first chapter might speak a lot about that. I think it does. I think your first chapter is you are not alone. And
Yeah.
I think that is it's really hitting home for me. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. The thing that I really, what the situation that we find ourselves in, whether they feel safe or not, often echo what we
Hmm.
think love feels like. So many of us who had a dysfunctional family relationship as children, or something that when we look back at it doesn't look like love,
Mm.
we will often reproduce that with the people that are around us because it's what we know. Because being yelled at, being demeaned, being ignored, being neglected feels safe in
Mm.
some ways. Our pain is often more comfortable than our expansion. It is a lot safer to stay curled up in your little, blanket and safety safe on the couch than it is to expand. And one of the reasons that we do this is this feeling of separation that everyone has, this feeling of isolation in our own unworthiness, because we look at ourselves and find ourselves lacking. We are trained to do that from the time that we are old enough to experience the world through the human lens of words and,
Unless there
and
was a
emotion.
nurturer, unless there was a nurturer, right?
Even with nurturers, we can feel alone because maybe we don't want to let down the nurturer. Maybe we feel like they're so much better than us and we can never be that good. We tend to isolate no matter who we are in our issues, in our
So
problems,
why
in the
did your
things we
guides then,
hide.
like, I'm just curious, why do you think your guides gave you this chapter first? Like, why is this chapter one?
I think because I was always surrounded by people and I always felt alone. This book and everything that was channeled to me is really about my journey. And they said to me, look, this is for you. This is not for anyone else, but we want you to share what you're going through. We want you to share it because if you're going through it, there's someone else out there that's going through it. And
Yeah.
if you reach one person, one of the things they said was too many of my good children are falling through the cracks of religion. And
Hmm.
so they
Oh, I've
said
read
to me,
statements like that. I find them so fascinating, like that so many people will leave Christianity or different religions just because they know that the institution is not upholding the light or the truth or the blessings that are supposed to be coming that way.
yeah, 100. I believe that the feeling of being alone is always from our conditioning, our judgment of ourself, and our feeling of separation from God, from the light, from Gaia, whatever you want to call source. That feeling of separation and not being good enough causes
Hmm.
us to isolate. We don't want anyone to see our flaws. We don't want anyone to see what's going on. But we almost create an echo chamber of our own mind. If you are always saying to yourself, I'm ugly, I'm damaged, I'm disgusting, but I can't let anyone see and I can't tell
Yeah, yeah.
anyone, you feel more and more isolated the longer you believe. And we'll feel like we are the only people in the world going through this. We'll feel like nobody cares. And in the physical, you might have no family, you might have no friends, you might be sitting alone on a Friday night, but you, even in that, you are not alone because we are connected to every other human on the planet. The essence of God divine light that is inside of us, that we are a spiritual being having a human journey, is
Hmm.
also in all of the people around you. And
Oh, yeah.
so that
And a lot of it too, I
connection.
think, like when you see it as a seer, I'm a spirit seer, so and an intuitive,
Mhm.
and I paint intuitively. This is one of my paintings here. I did Ode to Spring, and it reflects the feminine as well as the beginning stages of spring before flowering, and sort of my Cape Breton heritage. I was born on Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia, so just some of the colors in there too. So, um, but yeah, like in the I always thought to myself growing up, why was I having this experience while those who are having happier life experiences were, as a child knowing that, right? So you kind of retreated into your mind and you taught yourself to read and you taught yourself to do things and you still processed a certain level of success, and then you get to different phases and stages, like you said, in relationships and caring, and it just there's no natural sense of love. It's a
Yeah,
very, brutal sort of fight and battle that always comes back with inequities. And
very,
and I think like what I've learned from that is if I am carrying still the feeling of needing and the neediness, then I am not truly going to be in a love based relationship. So if I don't really believe in myself outside of the parameters set up for me and see my journey as, and that's the beauty of healing, that's stepping right into your light and saying, you know what, I got up again. No matter
yeah,
what, I fell, I got up again. I fell, I got
right,
up again. Someone tried to push me down, I'm getting up again.
yeah,
So it's not how many times you've fallen, I feel, but like how many times you're willing to get up and get back on the plate of yourself, who you are as a human being and a spiritual human being, and then look at yourself and say, wow, okay. Is this really the company I need to keep? Is this really where I need to be? Is this what I want my because the elevation of spirit, it kind of demolishes all of this human darkness. It unleashes a power that is beyond carrying the pain and sorrow that you might be witness to in the world or in your relationships. So,
It
yeah.
absolutely does. But we have to be willing to accept it. And that's a huge part of the spiritual journey is acknowledging our own worthiness, acknowledging our worth in carrying this piece of divine. One of the things that we do as children, children are very good at learning how to blame themselves for anything that happens in the adult world around them in a way that they don't understand, but they will blame themselves. One of the examples I use is your mother tells you to go up, clean your room, clean your room, clean your room. Then you go upstairs, but you're playing. You're not cleaning your room. Your mother and father are now screaming at each other downstairs, and then you hear a door slam. And when you come back downstairs, your mother turns to you and screams at you, is your room clean? No. And
Mm.
she gets mad and she yells at you. You go back upstairs, right? Now, that child, who might only be 4 or 5 years old, thinks, Daddy left because I didn't clean my room.
Whatever the hookup is, yeah,
Right,
whatever the
whatever it is.
psychological
And so
hookup,
we
yeah.
then we carry that forward. Now, fast forward 20 years later, and it grows into these vines of if I'm not perfect, people will leave, or people will leave anyway, so why should I bother? I'm going to destroy anything that I touch. It's my fault that everybody leaves me. Now, when we believe that, attract more of that experiences because the people in our lives are there so we can learn from them, so we can experience different things and overcome these hiccups in our growth, these spaces where we are scarred and wounded and unhealed. And that you have to be willing to make those changes. You have to be willing to believe Daddy didn't leave because I wasn't good enough.
No, I
Daddy
know.
didn't leave. And we
Yeah.
refuse to let go of some of that stuff because, like I said, it's very comfortable to stay where you are right about everything and everyone else is the one that's wrong. It is a very difficult thing for some people to recognize, oh, damn, I've had this mixed up the entire time. It needs to be exactly the opposite of how I've been living. The world around us, the 3D world, is almost designed in an ever expanding way to continue to give us the obstacles and the opposite of what
Mm.
the spiritual journey is. And that is part of the journey away from the importance of spirituality. And now we're in this new age, the age of Aquarius, whatever you want to call it. I'm not the astrology girl, but we're in this age now where that is going to become the main thing. We had this fear catalyst event that forced people to really take a hard look at their lives, to really take a hard look at themselves. Some people went towards anger and fear. Some people went towards depression and sadness. And some people really looked at themselves and had a wake up call, or some combination of all three,
Or some
because
people created a
we're
company,
complex,
or and I think we need to look towards that
right?
as well, right? Some people actually got out of their darkness by focusing on talents and abilities, staying on track. Now that would be
Yeah.
tough, right? During a
Yeah.
pandemic, right?
Yeah.
But
And yet so many people did.
we were talking last night on the Emperor and Empress, which the talk was fabulous. And just to give you like a little indicator of what, because I've been really trying to ask the girls, what is this divine feminine thing? Because I, being gay, I don't really understand in the same way I think as maybe the platform, but it isn't. It's actually pretty gender neutral, in my opinion,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
So what I took is when the empress is safe within her emperor, meaning your masculine side and your feminine side are well combined, meaning you can sustain yourself and you can decorate yourself, let's say, right? When you have those two unopposing forces with your own unity within, that's, I think, a state of transcendence, I would say, because you're actually going in and you're saying, I can hold myself through this and I can light my own light,
Yeah.
right? I can do
Yeah. It's
the things
balance.
necessary. So I really thought like it was so superficial because that's what my mom in different circumstances taught me was everything was just that and not a big deal and whatever. And certain ladies and certain people in my life now are like, no, this is a we and this is a together and this is I care about you, and you start to get out of that programming, that inner programming, that superficial kind of feeling that who you are, what you do, and the things around you are just that. They're not. They're actually very meaningful, precious if you want to make them things. Like I had one of those aha moments that you spoke about last week, where you look at something so beautiful and wonderful and pretty, and you just say, wow, that is just like so precious, and you hold it there undistracted by, things of the world, etc. And I see that as God consciousness. I see that as illuminating. I see it as, propelling yourself positively and just looking for those details that really stand out as healthy and important.
Yeah. And we are that precious thing that we
Yeah.
need to hold in our own hands and recognize as divine and recognize as precious. It is that space, not of protecting from the outside world, but rather that space of strength from within, that space of knowing that we are already protected. Because if you're protecting yourself, then you're expecting attack. But if you just exist, if you just are knowing that you're protected, then you're not walking through life waiting for an attack. Because if you walk around life ready for an attack, you will be attacked.
Yeah, because
It will come
you're
at
for
you,
the frequency of attack.
right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you're amplifying. If you amplify this, I am protected, I have the knowing, I am the precious thing, everything that's happening is for me and not to me. Now that's not an easy thing. I say it like it's just, oh, just do it. It is a process to do it. But if you can keep focusing on that, because what you focus on grows, what you focus on you see more of,
Yeah.
just like you've been focusing on this different way to look at it, and all of these people have been coming into your life and saying similar things that have been shifting or rather reinforcing the new perspective. And
Yeah.
that happens on the negative and on the positive. If you want to look for the places where people are out to get you or whatever it is, you want to look for that, you will see, you can find evidence for anything that you want to look for out there in the world. It is a big wide world ready to support whatever you want to believe.
And you can actually, I feel like no matter what in the light, transform anything. So if it's like, I would like it, I prefer to look at it like this. Even if you're at through stage 4 cancer, let's look at it like you're going to get through anyways. Like people are given so many divides and divisions, and they don't know that they have the power within to change it through so many choice makings, like nutrition, health, the right people around you or in your corner. And like if you are alone and out there, I really want people to be able to. Stacy is saying hello. Good morning,
Oh,
Stacy. Hi, Stacy. How are you today? Good morning. Because I did mention too that you're going to give a reading again, so
yes, yes.
they really liked your readings last time. Um, but it's like if I were given a death warrant, which I won't be because I'm in vibrational frequency and I know my frequency. But let's just say, for those that are that, I really would like to see them step into that thought pattern that allows them to step into the healing, the actual healing that needs doing. I think that with no avail and no regret, it's all a better momentum in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And I mean, I also believe that sometimes we give ourselves, if we're writing our own script, then we might have given ourselves the role to go through this thing. It is not about what happens, it's about how we react to it. Because it's not
Yeah.
about the external, it's about what's inside of us.
And if
And
we're reacting is something that we're needing clearing.
that's right. I mean, if you are having this strong reaction, or if you are, jumping, and of course you're going to be sad, and of course you're going to have problems, and of course I'm not saying that you shouldn't acknowledge that. I am not one of those spiritual people who says don't ever feel bad stuff. The bad stuff is where you get the most growth, when
You
you can
grow.
dig
Yeah.
into that. The issue comes when you believe that that bad stuff is permanent and you sit in it. You have to acknowledge the pain you're going through so that you can look at it, peel it apart, love it,
Mhm.
forgive it, do all the good things, whatever your particular rituals are, or none. I don't really do any. And then move forward from that space. It doesn't mean that bad thing didn't happen, but how we move forward in it. I had my emotions about it. I got mad. I screamed. I cried for a week, for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks. But then throughout it all, I was saying, but I know I'm protected, but I know that I'm, all of this is happening exactly as it should, and it sucks, but it is.
Believe in
You
yourself.
shift, you have to believe in your divine nature. You have to know that you are going through exactly what you wanted yourself to go through. I really believe that we
I
come here
think
with
that
these sets
I
of presets, but free will,
free
and
will.
however we
Yeah.
spin it once we're here, it's like giving an improv crew, like on a stage, a script to follow, but you're free to do whatever you want. This is what we'd like you to say,
Right.
but do whatever you want. That
So I
thing will
think
go off in a
Stacy,
million directions.
I think Lee Stacy is saying that she'd really like a reading. So
Yeah.
instead, because I don't know how long she has to stick around this morning,
Oh, yeah,
would
let's
you
jump
like to?
into it.
Do you have
I'm
it
ready
right there
whenever
with
we
you?
are. Oh,
Yeah?
yeah, I'm
Okay.
prepared. I'm so prepared today.
Okay, so Stacy, I hope you're out there. I hope you're centered in some way and take a deep breath and just put your intention out there to the universe. And we're going to try to align with you what maybe you might need to hear. Today is a power day. So, everybody, happy November 11th, 2021.
Yes,
1111 is a very, very strong, powerful day.
100%. So I'm going to do my little speech. Are you ready? Everything that I say comes through unconditional love. I don't know you. I don't know your personal story. There is no judgment in anything that I say. The words that come through, the messages that come through are 100% for you because I don't know your story. So there may be something on the card, in the words, in the turn of a phrase that's familiar to you, but not to me. When I start doing a reading, it just comes through. I don't think too much about it. And so a lot of times I'll say a phrase that maybe someone in their life said or something so just pay attention to anything that kind of pops out at you.
Yeah,
Now,
I think she's ready. She's saying
perfect. So
yes.
you don't have to tell me your question. You don't have to say anything out loud. If you have a specific question, you can just ask it. It's between you and the universe. It's none of my business. So you can just ask it. If you want to put it up there, you're certainly welcome to. You can share whatever you want, but you can also just say, I have my question. I'm ready to go. Let's do some pulling. So I'm going to start with the runes. I use my runes almost like a clarifier, like people use the bottom of the deck in tarot cards, like what's the overall energy.
Hmm.
So let's get an overall energy. Okay, that was a really clear one. It jumped right into my hand. So this is, that way. This is a ruse. U-R-U-Z. A ruse is the rune for strength. So and it's interesting because we were just talking about that masculine, feminine. I always use the book when it comes to the runes because there are particular phrases and words. I like to honor the person who channeled the information because if I'm using their method, then I want to use it properly. This particular book I've had since 1993. Strength is manhood and womanhood. Strength is
Wow,
considered
Emperor
the
and Empress
combination of
again.
both.
Awesome.
Yes. You can see it right there at the top of the screen. And the wild ox. So it's the rune of terminations and new beginnings. So endings and beginnings. And it really indicates that the way that you have been living, you have outgrown it. And the old way has to kind of be put away. They say it must die so that new energy can be released in form. So if we think about a pitcher full of milk, okay? I know y'all in Canada don't have milk in cartons, so I'll say one of those plastic
Oh, we
pitchers with the
do.
bag in it. Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
I have a friend who lives in Kitchener, and she's like, this is my milk in a bag. She was so freaked out when she came to America and we have milk in cartons. Anyway, so if you have milk in a pitcher and it goes bad and you need to have good milk, you can't pour the good milk on top of the old milk in the pitcher. You have to pour out the milk from the old and pour in the milk from the new energy. Positive growth and change, however, usually involves a descent into darkness as part of the cycle of perpetual renewal, like the earth. As in nature, this progression consists of 5 aspects: death, decay, fertilization, gestation, and rebirth. So prepare for opportunities disguised as loss. It could be a person that you have an emotional bond with, or even an experience or a belief system that you are trying to hold on to. Seek among the ashes and discover a new perspective and a new life. So let's grab Stacy some cards to put a little extra juice on it. Okay, I keep looking at this one. So this one is the Zilich Tarot. This is a very gentle deck. It has a very gentle energy, and I almost feel, Stacy, like you need a little bit of gentle energy in your life. That this, I'm really hearing that you're not so gentle with yourself sometimes. Not all the time. I feel like it's almost what they're saying to me is that it's almost like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde when it comes to yourself. That there are moments when you are so kind and so focused on being loving to yourself, but there are other times when we go on autopilot, when you almost,
Oh, she
I don't
says
want to
that
say,
is true.
yeah, I don't
Wow.
want to say it's like blacking out, but something that that the TikTok kids uses, they call it dissociating.
Yeah,
And I
dissociative. Yeah.
feel like, yeah, and I feel like the way that you go ham on yourself, the way that you do that when you're is almost like a dissociative state. Like the pain of what you're going through puts you into a state where you're not able to be mindful of your kindness in that moment. And several of
Or
the
even
card
being
all of the
kind. I
cards,
I I know what that feels like, so
yeah,
totally.
yeah, and all of the cards fell on the floor. So that
Oh,
means something to me, that all of the cards that I was pulling jumped out onto the floor, except
wow.
for the Prince of Wands, which again, I want you to make sure that you're looking at the imagery on the card. It's very jester like to me, almost phoenix like with the flames on this side. So we were talking about coming up from the ashes. The Prince of Wands is about a plan, a structure, a message of structure. And we have the Princess of Swords, which is also the prince and the princesses are like the knights and the pages. So they bring messages, and swords are truth. And with that, we have the chariot, which is movement, change, which was literally what the rune was talking about, is that change comes in our lives. And this movement, oh yeah, okay, I totally get that, Stacey. By the way, I have a survival guide for new empaths that it's like an hour or so long. I have a video for it. If you want it, reach out. I will send you a link. But this truth, this chariot is about new movement in our lives. And that's what the rune was talking about, was that this new movement, this new space, which is could be disguised as loss. To me, these two cards together talk about having a plan and standing in your truth. Oh, there we go. Having a plan and standing in your truth. And if you look at the coloring, it's literally fire and water. It's literally two sides of the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, just like the strength card. In fact, to me, masculine, the red one is masculine, the blue one is feminine, fire, water. They really speak about this balance between the two, between our truth and our structure of what we want to happen.
Wow. So, Stacy, if you're out there and you want to just put in the comments, because I really feel just in my intuition, when you say I shut down with the negative, that too is also a reflection of some behavior that probably you kind of ran into throughout your life. And it's a horrible thing to face, but I think we all can get the power within to really look at and see. I use compassion personally. My work is through compassion. I like to see that, that other person is hurting as well. But my biggest thing is don't carry it. Like
Yeah.
I've
Observe,
been
don't absorb.
find
Observe,
another
don't
lifestyle
absorb.
activity. Find, for us, I'm gonna do hiking and ice skating, and I always walk or painting. Like, find something else to occupy yourself up with your brain and the chemicals and the dopamine, serotonin reactions you do need is through positive, well lit, you know, nutrition, health, doing the best you possibly can for yourself. Because so many are weak right now, and so many really are at large. So,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. With empaths, it's always observe, don't absorb,
Oh, she
right?
said she speaks her truth always.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's good. That's very good. Although I will say that sometimes our truth, like I said, I just did a show on this. Sometimes our truth is actually a conditioned response to the world that we hold as protection. And
True.
rather, we need to live in it. You know you are living your truth when you no longer feel the need to defend it to others.
Ooh, she says as well. I say every day I am not taking on anyone's energy.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah, as an empath, you have to. You have to. And some people use the bubble up method so that they don't absorb. I call it bubble up, but they make a shell, a protective light, whatever you like. I prefer the superhero response where the light comes from inward and pushes outwards and just like obliterates anything that's near me when it comes to that sort of other people's pain. And that helps them too, because you are literally envisioning yourself sending out the energy of the light, the energy of God to everything around you. And the more that you can do that, there's a TV show called The Boys, and a superhero on that. That's her power.
Oh, I got someone
She lights up.
new. Oh, nice. That was a beautiful truth. Her
Thank
own
you for
adult
sharing it.
child. Oh, attacked, she said. Wow, she was
Yeah, it
actually
happened.
attacked.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Beth is giving us a heart. Thank you, Beth. Beth, if you're out there and you want a reading, if you just put it in the chat, um, maybe is there another card there that might indicate what Stacy might want to do in order to get the correct parameters for her situation?
Yeah. Let me let me grab this other deck. This is the Tarot del Fuego, um, which is Tarot of Fire.
Hmm.
Not that I'm an actual Spanish speaker. I did take 4 years in school, but the thing I learned more than anything was "Cómo se dice en español, clase," which means
I
how
was
do you
actually
say this in
considering
Spanish,
one
class?
of my favorite world artists right now that I avidly follow is Spanish, and my nature photographer who did a lot of work with me when I was in the Muskokas, he actually moved to the equator, so he moved to Ecuador, and I'm really thinking of trying Spanish.
It's actually fairly simple. It's simpler than English.
Really?
Yeah, it's more simple than English. Although it has a lot of tenses on the verbs, but if you use the root, most people will know what you're talking about. They'll know what you're saying. Okay, so this is really interesting. I want to tell you before I put this card up that the odds of pulling the same card twice from two different decks is 1 to 7,840. And you got the Knave of Swords, which is equivalent to the Prince of Swords in the other deck.
Wow.
And I also want to draw to your attention that this card, the person speaking the truth has a blindfold on. So perhaps they aren't seeing how them speaking their truth is
Yeah,
affecting others.
she's in her blinders. She's not
Yeah.
seeing. Yeah.
And the sword is pushed into what, like, this earth. When we speak our truth, when we start to live in our truth, we have to be able to use the most empathy, the most understanding, because we are changing somebody's world when we change. Someone who sees us in a particular light, when we change everything, now they can't see us in that same light, and it forces them to make shifts within them. And sometimes that causes them to lash out. This is the Empress, which you were literally doing your show on last night. And the Empress is all love, all empathy, all compassion. She is all the love of all of the queens in the deck, and just as much of the strength and the structure of the kings, although she expresses it in a much more open way. And she's often seen as pregnant. So on this card, you can see there's right in the middle, that's supposed to be like her pregnant belly of the world, of nature. And so birthing a new way of life has
Wow.
growing, it
Yeah,
does.
Stacy, I think that was beautiful for you. It's time to rebirth and see yourself maybe more independent and yeah, definitely showing your strong points and continuing on a healthier path, right?
Yeah. Because while it is all about us, while this whole journey is all about us, part of our journey is to learn to handle others in a loving way through the eyes of God, through the eyes of divine, to see them for their pain first and give love for that, even if it's on just the energetic, before we engage in the 3D argument or discussion or difference. You have to recognize the shared piece of God in you before you step into that disagreement to actually talk it out on the 3D. And that's part of
Oh,
the.
yeah. She's saying, and book you recommend. Stacy wants to know your book.
This is my book. It's called Unleash Your Light. It is very simple, short book. It has a couple of questions you can ask yourself at the end of each chapter, and it's $10. You can order it on my website. But really, for me, the thing that changes me the most is recognizing empathy in other people, because that is almost like a role model for me. Every time I see something that happens in the world, it reinforces that I'm on the right track, because we can often try. The world doesn't make it easy to see it in a loving way. There's a lot of things in the world that are hard to look at. But every once in a while, if we're paying attention, we'll see something. Here in the States, there was an incident where someone got shot, and the person, it was like a thing, and the person who got shot wrongfully, his family went into court, and his brother got up on the stand, and everyone was ready for him to be pointing the finger, and instead he said, I forgive you. I forgive you for what you did, whether you did it on purpose or whether you didn't. I forgive you on the behalf of myself and my brother. And that really shows that there is love in this world, that there is connection in this world, that there is a string, a shared experience that we're all having, and the way that we go through it will change everything. I always find, if you really want books, I always find Brene Brown with the gratitude and the compassion amazing. I am a huge Iyanla Van Zant fan. If you don't know who she is, she's very tough love, but she writes in such a way that it's little snippets. I think one of her books was called Yesterday I Cried, and it's a space that kind of teaches you how to meet people where they are and love them as they are without compromising your personal truth.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that that was a decided upon momentum that you want to take now, Stacy. So whether it looks like an attack or whether it looks like a positive, loving experience, whatever the experience, it's yours in a manifestation of a part of yourself. And until you really have it and its finality on a minute level and you really love it and see it and know what is truly yours and not that you're holding on to, it will keep manifesting in different ways. So.
Yeah, because all attacks come from pain. All attacks come from pain. When somebody is angry, it's coming from their place of pain. It's coming from their place of lack, from their fear. And so when they attack you, it's about their fear. And so shifting how you react to that attack is huge, is huge.
I think a lot of it too is it's like I didn't really want to see things as an opposition with my friends or family or loved ones or people I meet, but when I realized that it was coming from within, meaning that I needed to make a choice to broaden my own success. So get out of
Mm-hmm.
the headspace that it's about them and realize
Right.
that all of us have sort of idiosyncrasies that we need to get over in order to experience our total self. That's why we have 100 years here. That's why we're collecting information and having occasions and getting to know people and doing different things, is because we get that journey. Like it's sun, moon every day. We get to get up with the sun and go to bed with the moon. So for me, I pair that with what is my sun sign, what is my moon sign, and what is my rising sign, which is a Sag, and that's pointing directly forward. So those kind of things help me. That kind of is my new development, right? Um, and knowing that my success and yours, Stacy, yours, Lee, anyone else out there in the audience, that our successes are little step by little step, every moment, moving ourselves in that positive momentum into a healthier tomorrow. And if there are situations that are unhealthy, they're arising from behaviors, thoughts, and ideas and patterns that were ingrained or agreed upon to be acted out in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And
Right. With the
then
goal of
hopefully
overcoming.
you win and you let go. I wouldn't know what the stats are on that, but I have got to let go over and over again. And I'm pretty fortunate in that sense. So.
Yeah. Well, those patterns are ingrained in us. So the older we are, sometimes the harder they are to let go. You know, the longer we've had a particular belief, the longer it lingers in our life and the harder it is to counteract it. I always call it radical self-awareness, where you're constantly paying attention to your inner dialogue, to the thoughts, to the reactions, anything in the world that brings you to judgment or makes you do that or makes you feel like, something. is a place that's like a little clue. It's like Scooby and the gang. You got to look for all the clues in your life that point to these spaces where we can expand more, where we can grow more, and yet fully accepting ourselves exactly where we are, moving through the world in a space of compassionate detachment, where, like you said, we don't ascribe the actions of others to us being the cause. It's about their journey. It's about what they're going through. And yet we can react in that in compassion and love.
In whatever form, I think she was saying the Father, maybe she's talking about Holy Spirit, but
Yeah.
I think like whatever
Whatever
format
works for
which
you. Yeah.
allows you, whatever works for you. I
Yeah.
think just for the sake that you show up, you get your big adult self on, and you keep pronouncing those words and you keep moving forward because so many of us get jarred up in the non-communication, and that really is where the dissociative behavior comes in, right? That you were speaking on.
The
It's those
isolation, the
the isolation.
non-communication. We isolate and we think that we're alone in what's going on, and we create our own echo chamber that eventually is filled with only the voices that are condemning us, judging us, hurting us, and they're all in our own head. We're having the conversation with ourselves. It's not someone else telling us this stuff anymore. It's us believing it and repeating it over and over again in an echo chamber.
Mhm. Yeah, it's and a beautiful thing. I think we're all entities of the light and that we're having this earthy experience, like transforming ourselves over. And then I look at it even if, it's not of the light, but when you know you're definitely on the path to your inner light and bringing yourself wellness, accepting your lessons and moving through the experience, it's a lot easier accepting yourself you know? So in the first chapter, because I've got about 5 more minutes for you, and I just wanted to follow up on why you are not alone in the first chapter would be a benefit, because next week we're going to wrap into chapter 2, right?
Yes. So knowing you have to recognize in this experience that you are not separate from God, from the light. You are not separate from the person who is sitting across from you screaming at you. You are not separate from them when we consider it in the 5D, right? In the
Mhm.
3D, we are very separate from them, but they have a piece of divine and we have a piece of divine. And when we go back, when we leave these fleshly bodies, we go back to the whole, and we are no longer that individual piece, although we may remain retain some conscious identity. We are now the whole, both of
Mhm.
us, and both of us in this stream of love. So
Oh, wow, yeah.
knowing right away that you are not alone in this journey on earth, in this journey that we're all sharing in some way, is the first step in this, because the universe wants you to know that you can lean on them anytime. You can ask for love from the universe at any moment. And if you are willing to accept it, it will fill your entire body. You will feel it from your toes to the little top, the top of your head. You can fully feel your connection with divine. And if that is beyond where your expansion is, if you haven't gotten to that point where you can get past that, no, almost no matter where you are in the world, you can find another human being to have human contact. And
Yeah, it could be a
maybe you
human
don't
being.
want
It could
to.
be it could be like
An animal, it
an
could be
animal.
nature.
Yeah, it could be
Yeah,
for me walking in nature, but as well, just like even the breath pattern, because a lot of the stress that comes when you're outside of allostasis is you stop proper breathing, you
right.
stop proper eating, you're making rush decisions because usually you're being, you're bullying yourself or you're pushing yourself through the situation and you're not seeing your worth on a day-to-day basis. You're just trying to survive and you're trying to get through. And when we stop that and we see that when we make a small collective agreement with ourselves that what we put in our vessel matters, especially water, etc., then and we remain off of substances like alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, then we are not opening up to any extra problems in those realms too.
Live purposefully and mindfully. Everything that you're doing affects you. Everything that you're doing affects what comes next. What you did yesterday affects where you are now. What you do today affects tomorrow. So that feeling of not being alone, that feeling of knowing that you are connected, knowing, having that faith, which is the last step, but we'll talk about it in the first step too, that knowing that you are not alone in your journey is often all it takes to shift a perspective. It's often all it takes to shift your perspective and to step back onto the path, because sometimes the darkness envelops us in a way that we feel like, what's the point? How can I go on? Why should I bother? Why am I doing this? I don't want to feel this way anymore. And we will medicate again. We will isolate again. But that space where you know that
Can
even in
I
your
like
isolation, you
can
are
I just interrupt,
supported.
guys? Because I just realized something so incredible. So
Mm-hmm.
just 5 minutes from now, which I thought if you would do a mini personal reading for me, I would love it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
going to be 11, 11, 11.
That's cool. 11/11 on 11/11.
I know.
I love
And
that.
I'm a 7-Eleven, and you're a 7-Eleven because you're July 11th, and I'm a July
Yeah.
11th, which I thought when I found that out, I was like, what's the chances of that, right?
Weird. So weird. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm sure there's odds for that, but I'm not the statistics girl, you know? Too funny.
Oh, thank
Funny.
you so much, Stacy. Love and
Thank you.
light, and all the blessings of the universe be upon you. Yeah. So yeah, because that'll be the end. I gotta get going. I gotta go for my nature walk now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. So you want a little mini reading right here on the
Please
air?
and thank you. I would love
Oh, all
one.
right. Oh, you're
Yeah.
brave. Okay, here we go.
11, 11. Come on. See what the universe wants to bring in right now.
Protection,
Oh,
algae,
nice.
protection. This
Wow.
is the rune of protection. So let me pull out my little bookie here. Okay, so this is the rune of protection, or the elk. Okay, the
Hmm.
the sedge or rushes. I don't know what either of those things are. I think they're plants of some sort.
Oh, good.
I've had this book since the 90s. I've never bothered to look up what those two words mean. Isn't that funny? Okay, control of emotions is at issue here. During times of transition, shifts in life course, and accelerated self change, it is important not to collapse yourself into your emotions, the highs or the lows. New opportunities and challenges are typical when this rune is drawn, and with them may come many trespasses and unwanted influences. Algiz serves as a mirror for the spiritual warrior, whose battle is always with oneself. The warrior's protection is the curved horns of the elk. Oh, there you go. Or the warning rustle of the sedge grass. For both
Wow.
serve to let you keep an open space around you. Remain mindful and know that timely, right action and correct conduct, personal conduct, are your only true protection. And if you
Mm.
find yourself feeling pain, observe it, stay with it. Don't try to escape. Don't try to pull down the veil and escape from it. You will progress. And knowing that you're going to progress is your protection.
So what would you say then? I want to see how my cards come with that because protection and what cards do you think are going to line up with, right?
Yeah. Are we wanting me to guess?
I don't know. I don't
I
want to. I
have a
kind of
guess, but I would
just,
hate to guess and
if
have
I get
the
the
egg on
emperor, the empress, I'll be like, whoa.
it. I think it'll probably be closer to, I think, a Four of Swords.
Okay.
That's what I think. And I think a Justice
Okay. You're actually
and
thinking
Queen
I'm
of
gonna,
Pentacles.
wow, you're
That's what
gonna
I'm
call
thinking.
it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm using the Del Fuego again. I
That's
find the
incredible.
imagery on it so incredible. Okay, there went one on the floor. There's one that jumped out. Okay, that's interesting. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Hold
What
on,
is it? What is
everybody.
it? This is
Very
11, 11,
interesting.
11. Right on the
11, 11,
money.
11. Your mini reading here. So, one of them fell on the floor. The one that fell on the floor, Nine of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles is the Empress in the Minor Arcana. So you did get
Oh,
the Empress card. She's
again.
like, there's suits just like a deck of cards,
Right.
so you have your kings and your queens, and then there are extra cards on top of that. So
Yeah.
this would be like if it was just in the regular card deck, they would consider this to be the Empress. And it's
Mhm.
about compassion, it's about abundance, it's about love. And you can see in this particular card, it's literally an image of someone with their innards sliced open and
Hmm.
little coins on fire raining down inside of this exposure, almost like you're exposing your soul, and then the lit coins, the abundance, comes raining down from this.
Wow. Does
Now
that mean
with
money?
that,
Does that mean that like I have better chance of making money in the next couple of
well,
days?
all three of these are pentacles. All three
Oh.
of the cards that came out are pentacles. Again, I don't know what the odds are of pulling three of the exact same suit from a deck of 78 with four, because I'm not the statistics girl, but I know that it's very low because I shuffled the heck out of this and you saw me pull for Stacy out of the same deck.
Yeah.
So we also got with that the Three of Pentacles, which I find very interesting because the Three of Pentacles speaks about a strong foundation in community. It speaks about what you're building with other people. It speaks about creating the structure and the foundation for the growth that is coming. This particular one, as you can see, there is a head being chopped off. For me, this is ego. This is the thing that thinks I have to do everything by myself because I'm alone in this world being destroyed, because it's about
Wow.
that bag of coins with three coins and support from divine, that hand underneath. And the last one,
Wow.
one of the ones that I predicted for you was the Queen of Pentacles. Instead, you got the King of Pentacles.
Nice.
So the Queen of Pentacles comes at abundance from a more compassionate space. The King is more about planning, like we were talking about earlier in the show, the masculine and feminine, and bringing in the structure of the masculine. This brings in the structure of the masculine into your space of abundance, into where you are
Oh my
creating.
God, listen to this
Yeah,
one. This
yeah, yeah.
lady, this lady has asked us. She's from Australia and she has a entity in her home right now, and her 15-year-old is freaking out in her bed. Wow.
Wow.
I
Okay.
don't I know about entity. I know who can remove them on my team, but I'd be definitely saying Our Father to start that one.
I have something right now that you can do right in this moment. It's something that I have used many times in my own space when I'm in strange places. If you are both sitting in the bed together, I want both of you to imagine and to visualize glowing, both of you glowing. And
Okay.
that glow is like, I want you to imagine as if the universe, God, Gaia, whatever you like to call it Fred, it doesn't make a difference, literally glowing from within you, like you are accessing the life force. Okay. And both of you, I want you to focus on this together, that you are both glowing. And you can even do a countdown, like 1, 2, 3, and expand that out to fill the entire room first. And sit in that space of seeing the entire room lit with the brightest light, with the most love, not fear, with the most love, with the most joy. It's about the feeling that you're having, because the emotion, the feeling is where we access God. So if
Look at
you
what
are
she just
praying
said,
while
though.
you're
They've
in
already
fear,
been doing, yeah, the feeling. I totally love that. Lord, the Lord's Prayer multiple times, and she's clutching my Bible. I
right.
mean,
But if you're praying in fear,
it's not
then
fear
that's
we
not
need, yeah.
accessing.
So
Right.
the basis of being on a dimensional surface in a planet is that this is kind of what will be more normal as we move into the new Earth. And what you're witnessing is something you're meant to witness. And I think you really need to see yourself as the light within. You need to be as bright as you can on the inside and just let that entity know. I can say a series of prayers for you myself now if you want. That might help. I do have an invocation behind me that I use at times that's pretty strong. Um, I'm not too sure. I'm stumped.
It's shifting the space inside of you in this moment from fear to love. Okay. And seeing the thing that is scaring you rather as something to be pitied, something to have empathy for, something that is longing for what we have.
It's attracted
And
to you
then
for some
praying
reason.
from that, right. And then praying from that space, praying from the space of empathy and love and pushing that energy outwards. And you can fill your room with the white light. You can fill your house with the white light. You can fill your block with the white light. Christy Marie Sheldon does an exercise where she expands it from you to your room, to your house, to your block, to your city, to the world beyond. And that's the space you have to be. I know that it's hard when you're scared. I know that it's hard. But all you can do is sit in a space of love, love for each other, and try to release the fear that you're with right now. You are on the earthly plane and you are protected always. And so sit in the knowledge and the love you have for each other and the love you have for the universe, for God, however you like to refer to it. Maybe instead of the Lord's Prayer, read the Bible verses that are about love, that are about joy, because it's about shifting that emotion in you
Yeah.
that will affect everything else.
Sort of
Yeah.
like you're the
Good luck.
transponder, and so, like, in as you're walking along, you've caught on to an attraction, and on another level, there could be people within your community that are really good at working on light body or energy with you. But if you work on your light body and your light within, so I would suggest a Reiki session and a house clearing. If anyone knows how to do a house clearing in your community, it would be like a sage. They usually do each corner of the house, and then they have like, and I just had a series of prayers for you in your home too now, Ali. It is kind of dynamic that, you've come on right at 11:11:11 to let us know this. Uh,
For sure. For sure. It's
yeah.
really about the energy. It's really about, so as we walk through life, as we exist on this plane, how we carry our energy can attract these things that are not of the earthly plane. And I'm not an expert, so don't quote me, but sometimes extreme emotions at either end will attract. So those who shine super brightly will attract energies that will follow them that don't mean to be scary and energies that are really in depression and darkness and fear can
Mhm.
and addiction can also
It
attract
will,
those
yeah.
that feed on that. And I have a friend named Kalunya Haway, and she tells me that in the native tradition that there's a reason that they call alcohol spirit, and that it does create a vulnerability in us that can attract things that may want to take advantage to us, just like in the real world, just like in the 3D plane. We're existing on so many levels at the same time that we really have to constantly be mindful and self-aware of our surroundings, of our inner dialogue, of the energy that we're putting out. And it's a fascinating topic. I am
It's great.
obsessed.
That was awesome. I think Ali, I don't know if you see Nicole Marie Campbell in there or Lee Cara's information, but in Canada, I know people that might be able to help, but I'm not sure. I think that you really need to resource your arena there and find some women and men that are in the light and doing that work to come to your house and
Oh
help
yeah,
you
and
with that.
Australia has a huge spiritual community, a very, very well connected and super supportive, wonderful spiritual community. So I'm quite certain if you do a little bit of digging that you can find someone that'll come out and kind of, shake it up a little bit for you.
Well, guys, that looks like it'll be the end of the show for today. Thanks so much. Chapter one was discussed, and remember, we are not alone. Love and light to you all, and I guess we'll see you next week.
Yes, you are beloved, you matter, and you are so very loved.
Oh, thank you so much. That's to the audience too. I'll take some of
Yeah,
that too.
for sure. It's for everyone. It's for everyone. Share, pass it around.
Let's just have lots of love instead.
Yes, that sounds great.
Okay, you have a great day, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.
Okay, wait. Go.